Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Walker AC Experience for August 1st in the year 2024. 24? 24, 24? No, 2024. See, I'm not going to hit restart. I'm not going to do this again, Kevin. Um, Rumor has it, true fable has it, that every time a new month hits, you're supposed to say rabbits, rabbits, rabbits 3 times. And that brings you good luck for the whole entire month. Not too sure if you believe in fairy tales and fables and stuff like that, but I do it internally because I want good things to happen. But I'm in control of that. So, I am your host, Walker AC, and to you, my friends, yes, you are my friends. And because you're my friends, I have expectations of you. Pay me back those $50 I let you borrow, and be sure you bookmark walkeracexperience.com/mobile. That will give you our own personal website along with current updates of all of our shows that are listed. And of course, walkerac76.podbean.com. That's walkerac76.podbean.com. That will give you every single show we've done since 2018. We are at 10,000 downloads and climbing. Once again, we thank you for that. But without further ado, I run my mouth long enough. I need to stop and swallow my saliva before I choke on live air. My co host, my best friend, he's your friend, he's your cult leader. Sign up for the cult of Kevin. Here he is, Kevin Yu. Hey, Kevin, how's it going?
Hello, hello, hello. What you gonna do when AC walks over you?
I was hoping for at least a Walker Texas Ranger joke, but that works too, Kevin. That works too.
Oh my. Like, I know we used to do like automatically do political news on Cyril and Veer, but here at Walker AC, I'd like to try to, you know, revive that a little bit. Man, so what was your reaction seeing like Hulk Hogan up on the stage with Trump?
I think we touched upon this a little bit on the last show, but I will gladly talk about it again. We're going to jump right into it, folks. We're going to skip the pleasantries about, hey, how you doing? How's life? No, no, no. We're going to jump feet first into it with no life with no life jacket here. So, and I think I made this I think I made this abundantly clear on the last episode. And forgive me, I'm going to fumble for my words a little bit because I'm on a business trip, so my brain isn't where it needs to be. Hulk Hogan at the RNC, it really wasn't my thing, but I found this entertaining, Kevin, and I'll tell you why. For those of you who've probably seen it already, and we're not going to rehash too much, but they play his Titantron of his Real American, all his best wrestling moves, and holding the American flag and doing everything the sports entertainer wrestler does. And then you see him limping out and hobbling out like an old man. And then he cuts a promo. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of wrestling speak, a promo is where he just talks and hypes up whatever the special event's going to be. So, yes, as he droned on like I am now, it was apparent that the people in the audience didn't get his shtick. All they clung on to was USA, Trump, shot, assassination attempt, USA, USA. So that garnered applause and whatnot. And what you gonna do, brother? That really didn't work because the people in the audience were about our age, a little bit older, and they weren't really into the whole Hulk Hogan thing until they heard the words Trump and USA. I was immediately turned off by it. I was disgusted, but but it was entertaining. And once again, I will add in the disclaimer, Kevin, that I have friends. I have very close friends, that are Trump supporters, and more power to them. When I bash Trump or when I speak truth about Trump, I'm not going into it thinking he's a despicable human being and he must be boiled in oil and have his fat sold for soap or anything. I respect people who like him, and that's fine. Do what you want to with your sheep. Leave me and my sheep alone. But Kevin, your thoughts on this?
You see, it's just too jarring. If Hulk Hogan is gonna go out and play up his Hulk persona, it's like it just goes to show you how much crowd work matters. you got, I want to see like those people tearing out like their plastic shirts too. It doesn't make sense. Like where people in the audience were just like, "Oh, who is this man?"
They had no clue. They just saw an old man with orange skin, well, the other orange guy skin, tearing his shirt and talking about USA, USA. And that just definitely got their juices going, their little tingle in their loins, because they saw another guy hyping up the potential president of the United States.
Ugh. You see, if this was the South, maybe they get it, but for shame. Like, I think people for like my views, and of course I'm like, of course Hulk Hogan is this way, of course, like I'm surprised, poof, the Ultimate Warrior wasn't right there too, you know. It's like, of course he's doing this. I'm like, oh, I was just like, oh, Randy Savage was better.
Now, see, if Randy Savage was alive, he would be on the opposing team right now. So he would be following
Yes,
Kamala Harris and saying, "Ooh yeah, Slim Jim." So
and that would be much more entertaining. And then, like, at least Macho Man has much better finisher. Like, I'd like to ask you, do you know if Hulk Hogan has ever gone jumped off the top rope?
that's a really good question. I would say in the 70s, early 80s, he's gone off the top rope. But in a wrestling way of thinking, and let me break into a continuity here for a second. Yes, yes, my listeners, we're doing wrestling talk for a few seconds. You can just hang with us, or you can fast forward a little bit. You can fast forward maybe 2 minutes, but just hear me out. Take this ride with me. Um, for a big superstar like him, going off the top rope isn't really a thing because he doesn't have to. The less he does makes a difference. So if you can punch someone in the head and give a big boot to somebody, and it gets the same reaction as of jumping off the top rope, you're gonna keep your feet on the ground because you'll make more money that way and you'll live longer. Hence him limping out like a paralyzed turtle, hyping up the Orange Man. But I digress. Please continue, Kevin.
That's a good point. I understand. I mean, I would love to have seen Andre the Giant do a big splash off the top rope and kill somebody. Oh, well, he said a lot of fighting words. And speaking of fighting words, did you hear about Trump's, I guess, little remarks when he was speaking in front of the National Assembly of like black journalists?
I'm gonna say no, and just because, and we'll dip into this a little bit later. I think I had my fill of this already. I think I reached my max of just looking at it and going, haha, no, I'm done now. I think I'm tapping out. I'm done because I know there is so much more hijinks and shenanigans and tomfoolery coming along for the next couple of months to last us for a
Hmm.
lifetime. But I've heard about it. But please enlighten me because I'm kind of curious.
Certainly. Well, Trump basically showed his barely veiled racism, and he was talking about black jobs, whatever that is supposed to be, and then also said, "Oh, well, yeah, come, well." And he can't say Kamala correctly, but he said Kamala Harris. When did she decide to become black? I'm like, oh no! It's like, oh no, it's that really, racist thinking of like determining, somebody else's the race or ethnicity. Hooray!
Well, I mean, you knew that that was going to come out, but yes, please continue. I have thoughts on that.
Because it's just like, it's just so weird to be like, hey, let me define your race for you, individual. Why are you not a stereotype? Because it made me really remember, how you were an individual as a child, and then growing up, you were you. You didn't want, you didn't feel the need to be a stereotype, and so for Trump to say something like that brought me back to that idea that you know stereotypes exist, and that when you defy your stereotype, people are like, huh? Why aren't you like your stereotype?
You're like Abe.
So
You're like
yes. Yeah, I'm just like, I really want your thoughts about this.
Again, this is all entertainment to me, and it harkens back to the Obama administration, to where Trump questions, Obama, are you a citizen? Were you born here? Where's your birth certificate? Are you really,
Mm-hmm.
are you really black, and stuff like that. It all goes back
Mm-hmm.
to when two people, Kevin, are having a debate and the other person cannot articulate his point and they go straight for the insult. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you can't get one over on me. You cannot prove your point or just speak coherently. All of a sudden, well, you're stupid. Wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
When did we get to this point?
That's
Why?
besides the point.
Yeah, like why are you calling me names? I posed a question to you, and we're having conversations. All of a sudden, you're calling me a name. So that's basically what it is. He's throwing a temper tantrum because he can't keep up. So what do
Mm-hmm.
you do? Well, you're not black. Okay, what does that have to do with anything? I am black, but even if I wasn't, what's the point of that conversation? That does not mean I cannot be president of the United States. I can't run for office. If I'm Indian,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm Hindu, if I'm Japanese, if I'm Korean, it really doesn't matter. And
Mm-hmm.
oddly enough, if you go on to social media, and I sound my age, if I go on the social media, you will see this. This has actually turned into another silly hot button topic. Kamala Harris, Kamala Harris, is she black or is she Indian? Look at her parents. Look at her history.
Oh, and people say systemic racism isn't a thing.
Kevin, don't you know racism is dead, Kevin? Don't you know that?
We solved that. it, it was really illuminating back when Barack Obama became president, that a journalist pointed out that like the Jim Crow era thinking is still alive. The whole like one drop of blood thinking is still alive. Because like if you are of mixed race, you people can't handle that. They gotta like put you in a box. It's so insane to think that nobody is like imagine if like are you like, oh, are you Indian enough? Are you a woman enough? It's like nobody's like being like, hey Trump, are you orange enough? Doesn't make any sense to me.
And if you really think about it, Kevin, Kamala Harris could said, "You're not white,"
Mm-hmm.
and then that would have sparked some more controversy. How dare she say that? Not
Mm-hmm.
Trump says, "You're not black," and oddly enough, no one is outraged. No one's offended. No one is saying, "Oh my God, how dare you say something like that?" That has nothing to do with the task at hand. But now we're dipping into her history to find out if she's really black. I mean, and just like you said, no one is using critical thinking skills to raise their hand and going, "Why does that matter?"
and and why does Trump get to judge who somebody else's race? It doesn't make sense at all. You know, it's like how are you going to define this by your stereotypes? It's that really stupid thinking of again systemic racism where a certain very particular group of people is seen as a normal, as average, as acceptable, and everybody else is on the periphery. It's their world and we're just living in it. Is that type of thinking on full display yet again?
Yeah,
And what's making me laugh is just like the rest of us that uh, we could just laugh at him because he's doubling down on it. He's even contradicting like some of the comments his VP pick has made. The whole, oh, like people without biological children, they don't count, matter as much. It's insane. It is like it's like and I do think the Democratic almost like the the grassroots strategy, just calling conservatives weird, is starting to work because Trump now he's old and weird. It's like, yeah, he is. How do you really fight that when he shows that every day?
yeah. I mean, he's that aloof grandpa that just says weird things, but he's family, so you can't really shush him. You just kind of chuckle and go, "Oh, that's just Grandpa Trump. He just says whatever he wants. It's okay. Come on, Grandpa Trump. It's time for a nap." You're not black. I know you're not black. Oh, there he goes again. It's leaned more towards comedy and sadness than anything else because, like I mentioned before in the previous show we did, Kevin, not to once again rehash too much, is it's easy to follow someone who is charismatic. You can say anything as long as you have personality to follow it. I mean, this is why certain songs, for example, will stick out. The chorus will stay in your mind, not necessarily the lyrics. You think of a famous song, any famous song in your mind, what stands out? It's the chorus, it's the hook. The lyrics themselves may not make a lick of sense. They may talk about something weird like murder or porn or something, but when the hook hits you, you think about nothing else. And I view politics the same way. You look at people's body language and you look at the outlandish things that they say, and a common person like you and I can go, "Oh, that's ridiculous. How can anybody listen to that?" And then you look at the correspondents and the pundits and the social media, and they're like, "That is so great. That's amazing. He can be a president." I'm like, "But are you really paying attention to what he's saying?"
Wow. I've decided in my brain to represent Trump as like a low class Mr. Burns. That's I'm like once I came to that epiphany, I'm like, he is like that. Oh, okay. I feel a little more comfortable now that I can laugh at the whole thing a little more.
It is. And I've already come to grips that it's all just a sideshow circus to where to keep people divided. The rich get richer, the people with power gain more power, and it's their job to keep us divided, making these silly arguments back and forth, about making fun of Joe Biden, making fun of Kamala Harris, making fun of Donald Trump, and not really focusing on the real issues at hand. Because if you boil it down and you ask them, what are your ideas for poverty? What are your ideals for hunger? What are your
Hmm.
ideas for this? And sometimes, and I'm giving people a little leeway here, you may have one party say, "Well, this is what we're going to do for hunger. This is what we're going to do for job
Hmm.
markets." And the other person can go, "You're not black. You're stupid. That makes no sense what you're saying.
Hmm.
Are you sure you're black? Hey, how about you tell us what you would like to do for the American people instead of
Oh, yeah.
going back and forth because it makes no sense. Yes, it's entertaining. It's entertaining as all get out, but you're not really solving anything."
Well, I think that does show how, with a certain cultivate of personality, you can be good at campaigning, but governance is a completely different thing. I think we've seen that in real time.
Yeah, and
Like,
we've seen it before. But I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. Go ahead, please.
oh no, it's okay, because you see this in other states. There is a I think official in Oklahoma who sent a memo to the school district saying that yes, now you have to include the Bible in all your classes and all your subjects. It can be used as XYZ. And there's school superintendents who are like, no, no, we don't. And even like a lawyers association said like this memo is not legally binding. You don't have to listen to him.
Hmm.
And I'm like, this is insane, you know, and to really think like to trying to push an ideology, rather than good governance and taking care of the people. That shows you that there are people who just they thrive on the spectacle, like let's just say Marjorie Taylor Greene. They can't govern because that's not what they're there for. They're there to provide that spectacle, make a certain group of people feel good, and pander to people. It's really insane. Like, how has American politics gotten this insane? I mean, it's been insane, but not to, I feel it feels like not this outrageous.
It's really funny because the old timers like us, Kevin, and face it, we are old timers now. We look back at this and
Hmm.
we're like, where's the seriousness? Politics used to be boring. Debates used to be so boring. And used to talk about things that we really need to talk about. And now
Hmm.
it's just, I'm throwing bars at you left and right. I'm making fun of you. I'm questioning your background. I'm questioning who you are as a person, not what your intentions are for our country. And people lap it up. People eat it up. This is why we have insurrections, quote unquote, and people under guns and stuff like
Hmm.
that. And it's all these weird things that makes me sit back, just like I said before in the last show, with a bucket of popcorn, just watching all the silliness happen. And then you have, people just debating back and forth. Damn Republicans, damn Democrats, but they're not addressing anything. They're just saying how silly the other party is, and they're not addressing any things that we need to work on together as a country.
There are. It's just that it's so much easier to go to issues that that are their pet issues, like people who only care about guns, only care about abortion, only care about outlaw being part of the queer community. It's so much easier than to understand, global geopolitics, politics, or the economy, or how to reform, Medicaid or Medicare. So much easier, and it's a lot more exciting to bash your enemy and try to uh, let's just say, I don't know, ban IVF. It's not sexy to talk about, okay, how we're gonna fight like, climate change. It's not enticing, and unfortunately, it speaks to the mental state of the average person in the world or in America. It's that's all they really can grasp, because it does take a certain amount of education to understand the political process and and all the how our government works. And I kind of do believe, like, after a certain amount of education, when you go through your life, unless you purposely invest yourself in education, your knowledge atrophies. And unless it's easier for people to kind of forget all their lessons, like you ask the somebody on the street, hey, tell me the three branches of government. They might not be able to tell you, but they'll tell you their opinion no matter what.
Oh, of course, they will try to distract, and it'll try to touch off base to something else, and it's comedy. And now, my dear listeners, our dear fans, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about the government. I'm not going to pretend to know everything about voting like I should. I'll be the first to tell you I am three shades of retarded when it comes to political items, and that's for a reason. That's for a reason, because I do not want to get lost in the hubbub about who's slamming who. I know what I would like for this country. I know what I would like for our fellow man. But I also know that with what's going on right now, this temporary insanity that's going on, I know it is going to subside. I know we're going to try to get back to normal. We just have to get past this circus for a couple more months. All the smear campaigns, all the social media outbursts, and just silly things like that. I don't like to get involved in it. Now, I could be labeled as ignorant, of course, and that's perfectly fine. But I just choose not to get involved in stuff like this because to me, Kevin, it's just mind numbing.
Well, I'm I'm oddly becoming opposite. I will vote in my local elections and I will vote in the general election, because also realized how being active at the local level makes an immediate impact upon your neighborhood and your community. And I do realize what's at stake and how hard people fought for all of us. Every single one of us has a right to vote. And so, as you know as much as I may disagree with people not voting, i can't I can't twist their arms. I mean, that's not my job. All I can do is is live by example and say like, hey, it's not gonna break my back to vote, and in both the local level and the national level, and that's kind of the conclusion I've came to.
And I can understand that. I can respect that. So not to be political for the whole entire show, because we don't want to drive our listeners away by the droves. I do have one more thing about that before we jump into something else that's mind numbing as well. So Kevin, have you heard of a young lady named Nancy Mace?
No, what's that?
Okay, so let me dip back a little bit here. During the assassination attempt, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, um, the head of the FBI, CIA, stuff like that, who is in charge of Secret Service, excuse me, who is in charge of the whole operation, they got questioned.
Mm.
And the head of this ensemble was a young lady whose name is inconsequential because anybody can look her up. But that's not the point of this discussion. She was questioned. She was questioned by the government, by a whole lot of people, asking what went wrong. Why did this turn out like this? You screwed up. You were in charge of this. You should resign. The whole time, Kevin, she was being questioned. She could not give a straightforward answer. She
Oof.
could not say yes or no. She could not say anything. She covered up her answer. She talked around it. And it was a sideshow. It was amazing. And for people who know what I'm talking about, you're laughing along with it. For those of you who don't, pause this podcast, go on YouTube and look up Nancy Mace, July 22nd, 2024. Now, Kevin, Nancy Mace, she was one of the people who questioned the head of the Secret Service, the young lady who was in charge. And
Mm-hmm.
I cannot do it justice, but she went back and forth saying, just answer yes or no. Were you in charge of this? Yes or no. The lady will respond, I'll have to look into that. And the lady's like, no, yes or no. This went on for a few minutes until Nancy Mace finally got upset in front of the Congress and everybody. She's like, okay, you're full of shit. You're just full of shit. You're not answering anything. You're wasting our time. You're full of shit. And then you hear in the background, please have some decorum when forming these questions, please. And she's like, no, she hasn't answered anything. We're wasting our time. It's all bullshit. I'm like, wow, I love her. And she was very no nonsense. And I do recommend looking her up after the show. You will get a nice little chuckle out of that. So I just thought I'd bring that to
Nice.
your attention. Um, do you have any thoughts on that before we hop, skip, and a jump over to your favorite and ours, the Olympics?
Yeah, that it is interesting how somebody can get fed up with the whole non-answer thing. Because once you start attuning to that, you'll catch people doing that all the time, just being very evasive, just not even answering the question, just trying to dance around it. Because if you're not wary of it, you might just not realize it. But once you do, you realize either A, they've got something to hide, or B, they have no answer for you. And it's pretty apparent if they can't answer. In this case, it's like, so yeah, you can't give a straight answer whatsoever. So that makes you look like you don't, you have so much doubt, about you. So it's just really funny to me to think that somebody would take them to task and not let them get away. It's also refreshing to hold somebody accountable for something like that. Like, again, it's easy to, it's obvious to state that political violence is wrong. It is. That's how, civilized, governments fall. But yeah, if like if the person in charge cannot make their case, cannot really, you know, prove to people that like you can either A, take responsibility, or B, have an explanation, it looks really bad. So I gotta check this video out.
Well, I'll send it to you after the show. It's extremely, extremely popular, and it says a lot about accountability. It says a lot
Hmm.
about owning up to everything. It was like listening to the mother, the father, the uncle, and the grandmother try to get an answer out of a 6-year-old Did you eat the cookie? I'll have to get back to you. Did you eat the cookie? I'm not too sure. It's one of those things, and it's I mean it's really funny, but yet embarrassing. And and speaking of embarrassing, Kevin, I think it's time to dip into it. Let's jump on in, Kevin. Let's jump on into the Olympics. Now, before we dabble into this, let me ask you a question. Are you a big Olympics fan, and have you ever been?
Kinda, kinda. It's fun to watch sports that, you know, I don't always get to see. It's like shot put or like horse dancing, like, you know. And something that I've been attuned to this year is just realizing and really feeling that each and every person that's there, this is their dream. They've worked their whole lives, literally, to be at this moment to try to get that gold. The amount of work and determination and pain and suffering and sacrifice it takes to claim the gold medal for you, that's incredible to me. It is inspiring to me. Just no matter the sport, how much heart you have, and just to do it, it's incredible. So I'm a fan.
Well, very good, and I can agree. And once again, I'm not going to lie. There are some aspects of the Olympics that doesn't really tickle my fancy. There are some things where I'm like, okay, I can kind of do without that. Swimming, tennis, track and field, or just track in itself. I like stuff like that because once again, like you said, the sacrifice that they go through, the shape and the dedication that they have to be in, it's just amazing. And how hard they work, for these, I don't want to say 15 minutes of fame, but, to showcase what they're all about is a tremendous thing. And the Olympics is not for everyone. But I did feel bad for them, Kevin. I felt so
Mhm.
bad for them when the opening ceremony happened with the parody of the Last Supper. Did you see that part?
That part I wasn't paying attention to, true honestly. I really enjoyed Lady Gaga's performance. I'm like, whoa, sweet.
Well,
I kind I kind of wish Snoop Dogg would have done a performance rather than just hosting.
well, Lady Gaga had nothing on this opening ceremony. And pardon me, people, I am going to butcher it. So there will be some parts that I might get a little backlash on. I believe France, I believe, they did a parody of The Last Supper with featuring the LGBTQ plus A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Um, and they had a very Zoftig, heavyset woman playing Jesus. And her disciples, were all flamboyant LGBTQ people. Now, that's not so bad, Kevin. Not at all. I mean, you can parody anything in good taste, but this wasn't in good taste. Um, the lady who played Jesus is a very heavyset lady. She had a mixing board, a DJ board, and
Hmm.
she was playing her music, and everybody was erotically dancing around that. Now, if that wasn't disturbing enough, they had people in costumes and painting and stuff like that. Now, one thing caught me, Kevin. One thing caught me. One thing caught me raw is they had a gentleman, I believe if you're looking at it towards the left hand side, he was dressed up, scantily clad. And I wish I was making this up. His testicles were hanging out, Kevin, of his outfit because he barely had one on. So his twig and berries were hanging out. And dancing in front of him, Kevin, was a kid. I'll let that hang in the air. A kid was dancing in front of him. So as his berries, not twig, as his berries were dancing in the wind along with him, a child was dancing among this particular group of people. Now, as I say this, I have nothing against LGBTQ or anything of the sort. Do what you want to. I don't care. That's fine. But leave the children alone. And if you had a child dancing with them as they were erotically dancing and kissing each other, rubbing up against each other, it was in poor taste. So much so that they had to apologize because that ceremony, in quotation marks, offended so many people.
Hmm. Well, I think first of all, like, um, I don't care. As a non-religious person, I'm like, okay, that's cool. Like, I know a lot of people don't feel that way, but me personally, I don't care. It just like, okay, because like it's all a bunch of mythology to me. Like could have been like the pantheon they make, they parodied and be like, that's cool too. Um, yeah, maybe it wasn't a good idea to have a kid there, but it's also very like interesting how like the idea of like sexuality has changes over time and is culturally defined thing like like it's very mainstream American to have an incredibly weird and almost unhealthy view of sexuality. Like, you know, it's weird that like in the mainstream American culture, like we love sexuality, but we also can't stand it at the same time. And it's like it's like Europe is different, and it's interesting to when these differences come to a head, and you realize different people see things differently. Again, I don't think it's a good idea to have a kid there. But if they want to parody this, it's kind of like that Lil Nas X video for Montego Montenegro, and like how that just went offended so many super religious people, and he did it on purpose. He's like, yeah, he knew exactly what he was doing. So maybe they knew exactly what they were doing. It's like they you know they were tired of being the 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 I guess the target of these attacks against the queer community, which is completely valid. Our queer brothers and sisters out there, they deserve the dignity and respect that invites us any other person. It's not exactly a bold claim to say that. Like I'm not of the mind of saying, oh, as long they can do their thing as long as they keep away from me. Because to me, that's just that's the that's just the dog whistle saying like I don't want to be around that. Get away from me. Because I heard that growing up from conservative people as as not to outrightly be bigoted, but it's still the same bigoted view. So it doesn't bother me. Like again, you know, it, I think they knew that they're gonna get backlash. They know that this because we're worldwide. It's weird that we demonize people that are non-straight. When you look deeper back in history, where it wasn't that uncommon. It wasn't uncommon at all. It was just part of human variety. And we're at a point in human history where it's villainized. So I'm like, okay, weird. Why? So
And like I mean, like I said, to piggyback on what you said, it really doesn't bother me. Like I said, I mean, I've always said the joke, "Do what you want to with your sheep, leave my sheep alone," kind of thing. You know, I'm not a big fan of it being shoved in my face. That's it. I don't mind. You do what you want. You be whatever you want to be. Just as long as you don't shove your religion in my face, or you shove your sexuality in my face, or you shove whatever it is in my face. That's fine. Be LGBTQ. I have no problem with that. Identify yourself as a they, them, it, furry, tree stump, bush, whatever you want. Just don't shove it in my face, and just don't have children around it. That was only my bone of contention.
well, I can understand the child part, but the thing that I want to question people is like, what does shove it like getting in my face actually mean though? Like it to me, now that we've seen more representation in popular culture, like in Star Wars and in Marvel and DC, people get so mad at it, and it seems so childish. And so when there's representation, I think they interpret that as shoving it in their face. And to me, that seems so childish. Like, so you want to be catered to again, to have all white, all straight, all able-bodied, you know, mm, vaguely, you know, religious white men in your stories all the time, as it's been for a while now. You want that again, and you can't tolerate anything else, and you just accuse that of being, pushing an agenda. To me, you could say the same thing. Like, well, what is not being pushed in your face? There's always messages to everything. So I kind of don't understand when people have that centralist point of view and don't make room for diversity, you know?
And I understand what you're saying. And to counterbalance that, I can only use an example of I'm African American, or just
Mm-hmm.
basically I'm an American. You know, but for me, in my opinion, this is really unpopular. Black pride parades. Okay, I'm a black man. I accept where I came from. I understand myself and whatnot. But it's not for me to look at you, Kevin, and go, Kevin, I'm a black man. I've survived slavery. I'm oppressed. I'm a black man. You owe me this. And you can go, no, I don't. You're a man. That, that's
At the
African
same
American.
time,
Yeah, I
right.
mean, yeah, but pretty much at the same time, I don't owe you anything. I shouldn't be in your face going, I'm a black man. Treat me a black man. We black people went through this and we deserve this. No, no, that's not the case. Yes, be proud of who you are. Be proud of where you came from or what you want to be. That's fine. But when you shove it in my face and you're like, acknowledge me. Okay, I acknowledge you. No, acknowledge this is who I am, stuff like that. Then to me it gets childish and ridiculous.
It's the thing that I have to say though is like it's almost as saying like you can show your difference but make me comfortable with it. That's the message I hear. It's like, oh, let's learn about Black History Month. Not about the stuff that makes me uncomfortable. No, 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 no. Don't make me feel guilty about it. Oh, let's celebrate Pride Month. But no, don't let them get married. No, 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 no. That's for us. No, 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 no. They can't hand. It just seems to me that people in power can't handle the uncomfortable parts. They only want to have diversity on their terms, to not feel bad, to not feel threatened. So that's why it feels a little like a dog whistle when I hear that message of like, yeah, you know, you can do what you want, but just keep it out of my face. But I'm like, it doesn't seem truly empathetic to kind of like have like a space like you are over there, you're sequestered, you stay in your lane, stay in your boundary, stay away from me and my people. It just seems like that where it's kind of because like I would like to know about your ancestral history. I do want to know about the tough things your family went through. I do want to know about how I might have like the bigotry taught within me, that ingrained in me that I don't even know I have. I think those uncomfortable conversations, having being said compassionately, will lead us to a better understanding and a better society, rather than oh just make me comfortable with your diversity.
Okay. And once again, I have no problem with that. I guess it's just my viewpoint of the fact of, I accept everyone, you know, but it's not the fact of stay in your lane or stay on your side or anything of the sort. I guess I'm trying to articulate is just more of this is who I am and you need to accept it. You better accept it. I'm going to do everything in my power to make you accept me. It has nothing to do about being uncomfortable or having those uncomfortable conversations. It's just, someone is in your face saying, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me. You know, I'm way out here and this is what this is and you better accept it. If you don't accept it, then you're an insert phobia here.
Well, us as people of color, don't we aren't we victims of that too?
To an extent, yes, and I can agree with you to an extent.
I mean, they want us to they want us to be the Will Smiths of our, or like the Will Smiths of the Connie Chungs of our respective races. very, like just different enough to be accepted, but to be able to like not make them uncomfortable whatsoever about the rest of it.
Well, understandable, but you and I would never have an entanglement, Kevin. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
Mm.
Okay, too soon of a Will Smith joke, obviously. Okay, so.
Hand out the slappuccinos.
But I mean, but to bring it back to the Olympics, um, did you see the boxing match that's getting a lot of controversy also?
No, tell me.
Okay, so I'm gonna butcher these names, and of course, you guys can always pause the podcast and take a look, whether it be on TikTok or Google on YouTube. The boxing match that lasted about 42 seconds. So this is part of the Olympics, and one fighter, one who trained so hard, and she dedicated it to someone in her family that was ill, that was dying of an illness. And I'm going to butcher the name here, Kevin. Jennifer
Hmm.
Lozano
Hmm.
fought Pila, Pihla,
Hmm.
Kaivo, Kaivo, in a boxing match.
Hmm.
Now, the other person is transgendered,
Hmm.
a man basically. So the bell rang, they touched gloves, and this person beat the teetotal piss out of her. So bad that she quit after 42 seconds.
Oof. Damn. Now, so now we unfortunately it has that the battery of questions ensues. Like, so are they saying she's transgender because she did have the operation, or did like in sports, especially women's sports, not men's sports, they test their testosterone levels, and that's how they determine their gender. Not whether they ask them to identify themselves, not if they the I guess the hardware, but their testosterone level. So that's my question before I make a comment.
Oh, of course. And so all they said at the time was a transgender woman, and from a visual standpoint, you could tell that it really looked like a man, Kevin, basically. It looked like you boxing a 5-year-old little girl.
Hmm.
That's
Well,
where.
it's
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
oh sorry, because there was a story of about a runner who she's not biological woman, but because of testosterone testing, they kept claiming she was a man, and of no fault of her own. She was a good runner, but they kept saying that about her. And I think it's hilarious how they don't give these tests to men's sports, and it's like it's up to the woman to do that. And plus, again, if you don't fit into the idea of a woman, then of course you're not a woman. It's like, and then UFC, they would call people like Chris Cyborg a man because he was very strong, very muscular, and fought and like was very powerful. And because that's seen as classically masculine, they said you're not a woman. So I do think it's before I, you know, really think, make a comment. I want to be conscious of what they're using to judge this person as a transgender person.
Reading, it was a biological man.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
that definitely has something to do with it, and in my opinion, that was kind of an unfair advantage, and that's been a general census about the whole thing, and obviously I'm not hating on either party. I just kind of thought biologically that was kind of an unfair fight, and it got a whole lot of press, and it's just interesting. It's really
Hmm.
interesting, just to see this, and how the world is changing, like via biology. I mean, if you're biologically a man, I guess that has to take the proper steps to become a woman, and being in bodybuilding competitions, or doing tennis, or being in boxing, I mean, it could be a slight unfair advantage, and
Hmm.
unfortunately, the person that she fought tapped out within 42 seconds because she couldn't compete.
Hmm. and it's also kind of telling that people always assume a male has the advantage. Like there's a swimmer who's a transgender person, but this person's like mediocre. They're not kicking everybody's ass. They're just mediocre. And I'm just like, just because you're a man does not give you an advantage on every single thing. You know, I mean, the what's it really hurts a. Oh, I would say it would hurt a lot of males' pride to be beat by a woman, and like they shouldn't be. It should be just a pure contest. I mean, I know it's not as simple as that, and if indeed, this is a biological male, maybe there is some validity to thinking this person had unfair advantage, but it's not. I don't think it's as clear cut as people make the whole issue.
I mean, we can agree to no. I'm not gonna say that line. I'm not gonna do that, Kevin. Not gonna do that, Kevin.
Because my automatic response is like, I disagree. That's
We start doing name calling. Well, you're stupid. Well, Adrian, you're not black. You're not black.
Dumb will say that.
Those are one of those topics that we could just go on for hours and hours and hours about. But you are right in saying that we don't have all the information with that. But hindsight being 2020, you could look at a biological male, is to an extent, generally speaking, stronger, and really shouldn't be in that particular situation, because it's not fair to the young lady either.
Well, it also can mean a deeper thing, that the paradigm of only male and female may not be correct. In other cultures and in history, there's more than two genders. And so maybe the Western view is being challenged, and maybe we have to really rethink the way we do. But people don't like to think, so never mind.
How dare you, Kevin? How dare you?
Here, have some beer.
But I mean, we can't be fully serious this whole podcast, because we don't want to scare away the listeners, or God forbid make them think. So, and I kid, people, I kid. 10K downloads, we still thank you for that. But yes, people see this whole thing as a clown show. Everything that's going on right now, they see it as a total clown show, because I think somewhere along the way we got lost. And I think that the silliness will go away. I don't want to call it a fad, Kevin. I don't want to call it a fad, because I don't know. I think this is all just a phase. If you look at your teenage child going through their emo phase before going back to their prep phase, I just a part of me just believes it's all a phase. It's just is really weird, because it is a pretty strange time that we're going through right now.
Mm, but saying it's a phase and like implies it'll go back to quote unquote normal, and I don't think it's normal. And I also think we're forgetting like the craziness of the past. Oh yeah, there was that World War where everybody just was trying to kill each other, the world, literally. Or, remember that time there was that Black Plague, or the Mongolians slide like 10% of the world. Oh yeah.
Oh, the good old days.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like you and I would be like considered like immortal for surviving so long. I just think like, oh, it's just another interesting development in the world. And I don't think we'll ever go back. We can't. You can't put the genie back in the bottle. It's the world is changing like it's always changed. Remember when only white landowners could vote, that kind of thing.
Oh yes, I mean, not going to go back that far. That I don't want that kind of normalcy, because yeah, I'd be screwed. So yeah, but as we wind down here, Kevin, we've had a pretty intense conversation about about politics, about Olympics, and just about people in general. And do you have any rants on your end?
Yeah. So rants. I am. This is the most insane rant, but like against myself. Like I still get really like slightly jumpy hearing a bunch of thunder. I'm like, I'm an adult, damn it. I'm a big ass man. I shouldn't let like thunder spook me. But today there was a really bad thunderstorm. Just like everything's okay. I'm not gonna get hit by lightning. It's gonna be okay. So odd. It's like it's why I have empathy for animals that hate fireworks and thunderstorms. I'm like I get it. Okay.
I will buy you a protective vest to calm you down during rainstorms and hurricanes. It's okay, Kevin. It's okay. I got your back.
Don't give me a thunder shirt.
Uh, and
How about you?
my rant, I guess, it's about me too, Kevin. It's about a rant about myself. Rant about myself, Kevin. I swore years ago that I would not be like the old people. The quote unquote old people. They just complain and kvetch about life and about things we don't understand, about how the world is changing. Like I just complained a few seconds ago about how the world is changing, and wish we can go back to normalcy. There isn't a normalcy. There is no definition of normalcy. It's just like you said, times change, people change, things evolve, and we have to keep up with the times. We have to keep up with what's going on. Not to be one of the hip, cool kids. It's just that we understand. They understand the direction of the world. And yes, it's fun to sit back and reminisce about certain parts of the good old days. But those days have come and gone. But yet I find myself sitting back and going, Kevin, back when I was, and I'm like, wait a second. No, no, no. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be that guy. Not going to be that guy. Not that I'm going to learn the lingo and say that's cap or give me a glizzy. No, I'm not. No, not going to be that guy. But I will have to have an understanding and just a general grasp on what's going on, so I can keep up with everyone. Not necessarily keep up with the Joneses, but just keep up with the generation. Because I fought against iPhones, I fought against computers, I fought against all this other stuff. But you have to realize that you have to be with it. You have to be. And yes, Kevin, I'm hip. I'm a hip like the cool cats. Did they still say that, or that's kind of beyond me? I don't know.
I like to think that we're all allowed to have our subgroups, you know, slang, so we can call things boss or call it whack. They won't know.
But yeah, it's just it's just part of the generation. It's just it's better for us to keep up with everything because we don't want to be those fossils sitting back screaming at our phones because we can't swipe anything. But it is what it is. So do you have any shout outs for us, Mr. Kevin?
Yes, a to shout out goes to Uniqlo. I really like that store. It's a Japanese-based brand. They have really nice clothes for an affordable price. It's they do a lot of collabs. Made some really great uh, uh, artistic collabs. I mean, they did like video game crossovers and like fine art uh, kind of collections, and I just really like their clothes. I used to buy all my like work clothes from them, and I just like their casual clothes too. So Uniqlo's a great brand to get a lot of different type of styles.
Awesome, very good. I have a shout out to queso.
Cheese.
Yes, queso cheese,
Mm.
Kevin. Now, I'll just rewind a little bit. My palate for food isn't what it used to be, but I discovered queso, and I know some of you are laughing and going, "Really? It's been around forever." Yes, I know. I understand this. I had queso and nachos a couple days ago, and I'm hooked on queso. If I can buy it by the gallon and have it to taste the same way at the restaurant that I was in, I would buy it by the gallon. So yes, I'm hooked on queso. I know it's not healthy for my diet or anything of the sort, but god damn it, it tastes good. So shout out to queso. Just regular cheese queso, not anything else mixed in. I had a different type of queso they gave me. I forgot what it was called, but it tasted like garbage. It tasted like guacamole with very little flavoring. I don't think I can do that anymore. Not a big fan of guacamole. Guacamole haters, come at me. I dare you. Um, but but yeah, that's my rant. And oh, P.S. Another small little 5 second rant. Jeff, where's my cereal and beer, Jeff? Where is it, Jeff? I've been waiting. Don't keep me waiting for my cereal and beer.
That was out of my hands.
But as this show comes to a close, we definitely thank everyone for taking the time to listen, to download, to play this show, to be entertained by us. Because this is what we are. We're just entertainment. We are not here to change your minds, make you sway one way or another. We're just here for entertainment. So we do appreciate
Except by
you
our
taking. Damn it, Kevin! Shh, quiet.
Oh, I mean.
And yes, buy our merch. No, also join the cult of Kevin. He does not have queso, but he's working on it. The Kool-Aid does have a sugar flavoring in it, and yes, you get to wear Crocs when you join the cult of Kevin. Any final words for this episode, Kevin?
Everybody, I hope can spend a little bit of time not being just not having your phone in your face. Just take a minute to do something like singularly, like drink some water, take a walk, and just that's it. Just give yourself that space and see how it makes you feel. That's my challenge to everybody.
Okay, fair enough. And I will up the ante. Maybe once a week, turn off your phone. Just put your phone down once a week. Let everybody know that Wednesday is no touchy my phone day. And see what happens. See how you feel. Look around. Go outside. Read a book. Do something productive. Just put your phone down for 24 hours and see what happens. That's my personal challenge to you guys out there. So once again, be sure to bookmark walkerac.com/mobile. Bookmark that, and we'll keep you updated on what's going on, new shows coming out. A very special show is coming out this Tuesday. Stay tuned for that. A little cliffhanger for you. And also be sure, subscribe and follow walkerac76.podbean.com. That's walkerac76.podbean.com. Also coming down the pike is a new merchandise store opening up just for the experience alone, folks. Stay tuned for that. And of course, this has been the Walker AC Experience. I have been Adrian. He has been Kevin. You've been our friends, our family, background noise, people who love us, people who hate us, but you're still going to listen. We'll talk to you soon.